Buying a home in Canada is a lot easier than you think, but still nerve-wracking for many. So in this video, we'll break down every single thing you need to know about the home buying process here in Canada. Hey guys, my name is Mohit, licensed realtor here in Calgary, but this video isn't about me. So let's talk about how we can make you a homeowner ASAP. You see, a very important factor a lot of buyers miss out on is the pre-planning stage. This is where you take care of things like your credit, your debt to income ratios, your jobs, your savings, and so much more. If you want a detailed video of how important pre-planning is and a step-by-step guide for pre-planning, click the link on the right. But in this video, we'll cover the process of buying a home after a pre-approval. The number one and most overwhelming part is house hunting. This is where you're actually in the field looking at different properties and figuring out what you can buy and what you might have to sacrifice buying your first home. You see, I have this conversation with my clients all the time. Buying your first home, you're ideally not landing into your dream home, or you might not be able to afford your actual dream home. This is where you make compromises, get what you really need, but sacrifice on the wants or the wish list that you can later on add to your next property, your second, third, or fourth property. Now, after going back and forth in so many properties, you found the one. It's the right property, right community, and you can imagine yourself living there. Well, it's time to write up a written offer. This is where you negotiate on terms that you want and the price that you want. And depending on the market you're working with, you might get a counter, you might not get a counter, or you might even be in a multiple offer situation where if the house is listed for $200,000, you might even have to pay $220,000 or $250,000. This is a number I honestly can't give you, but talk to a realtor who can understand the market trends, the true market value, and the supply and demand in the times you're buying. But one way or the other, you got your offer accepted. Congratulations, you're almost there. Now you must be wondering, why almost? You bought the property, you got the price, what else is there? Well, this is where the due diligence starts. This is where you bring in a professional who inspects the property and helps you understand any common problems in the community, in the area, or even in the year build of the property. We often see some houses having PEX piping, which are more likely to burst, or you might see some other problems in the property. So it's good to have a property inspector who can guide you through the right ways and through the right precautions. And if you did end up finding any minor or major flaws with the property, this is where you can either go back to the sellers and get that negotiated, or you can simply walk away from the property. In this case scenario, as long as you had a condition for property inspection, your deposit is safe, you can simply walk away from the property at no major cost to you. And while you're working on making sure this property is right for you, you might even want to bring in some contractors to get any estimates for upgrades or renovations you're planning to do, either right away or over time. And while all of that is going back and forth, your banks are working on the back end to make sure they can approve you for a mortgage on the specific property. This is where you might see a case scenario of the banks get an appraisal done. Appraisal is when the banks want to make sure that the property you're buying is actually valued at that price. So that way you're secure, you're not overpaying for the property, which means the banks are at lower of a risk and so are you. And depending on many case scenarios, you might or might not even be aware of the appraisal that's happening, or you might not even be at the appraisal when it's happening. But rest assured, your banks will be taking care of this on the back end. So will be your mortgage brokers, your realtors, your lawyers, and everyone else helping you get into this property. And with that, most of the due diligence would be out of the way. Your property inspection would be done, your mortgage would be approved. And depending on your specific needs and case scenario, there might be more conditions or more due diligence that needs to be done for the specific deal. But using the best case scenario of a very typical transaction with property inspection and mortgage, let's say both are ready and good to go. This is where you remove your condition and you firm up the deal. From there on, you have a secured property on paper and you're very close to actually moving into that property. At this stage, all of your documentation will be passed along to a lawyer to help you close on possession day. They will do all the mandatory due diligence to make sure the titles are transferred smoothly, they'll do all the payment transfers, and they'll make sure you get the keys as promised. And lastly, the move-in day, the most exciting day of them all. You finally got the property, you got your property inspections done, you got your mortgages done, you went to the lawyers, your titles are transferred, your property is now insured, you got your utilities in place, and so much other things. Now you can finally move into your new home and settle in that property. And with that, if you want a complete breakdown and a complete checklist of things you should be taking care of after possession, you can check out the video on the right. And with that, my name is Mohit and I'll see you in the next one.